And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Because all the blessings that we're going to get, which is entailing the kingdom of heaven, Isaiah the 60th chapter, I'm going to start at the 10th verse and read on down. It says, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So the sons of strangers, that's talking about the actual strangers, the other nations, shall build up thy walls. We're going to have them in slavery. So they're going to be building the kingdom of heaven, because we're not building nothing. We're not lifting a hand to move nothing. It says, for in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. That's talking about the actual Gentiles. We're going to take all of their substance, and that their kings may be brought.
And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Verse 13. And the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, the box together to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. So the land of Israel, the land of Jerusalem, is going to be made glorious. It's going to be made glorious once again. The kingdom is going to be built up. We had a taste of that during the time of Solomon's reign, which was for about 40 years. Verse 14, the sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of the Lord. The word Zion means monument, the monument of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so man went through thee. I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shall suck the breasts of kings, meaning we're going to take all their substance. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord thy power, the Lord and thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. For brass I will bring thee gold, and for iron I will bring thee silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. And I will make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall no more thy light by day, neither shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and the power thy glory. The sun shall no more go down, meaning our kingdom is not going to go down. In other words, once we get back in power, we're going to be in power forever. The sun is never going to go down on our kingdom again. The sun is never going to set on our kingdom. We're going to always shine, and we're going to always be in that glory once we get into the kingdom of heaven. There's no more going back into slavery under the other nations. Esau's not going to rise back up and put us in captivity. Ham, Japheth, Ishmael, none of the other nations are going to rise up and take us down ever again. When we get on top this time, we're going to remain on top. Neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. So no more mourning, no more crying, no more vexation of spirit, no more weeping, no more hopelessness because of the condition that we're in as Israelites right now. Verse 21, thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. Verse 22, a little one shall become 1,000. This is in the kingdom. So what is this talking about? We're going to have sex. Again, like I said, the 2/3 that are going to pass in this destruction The 2/3 are going to come back through the 1/3 that make it. The Lord said, 2/3 shall be cut off and die, and the third will I bring through the fire. It says, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of the GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and its sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, pushing to get up out of there. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. All right, so just going to another evening, going to an evening news and prophecy, which, hey, we in the time where things are speeding up. All right, things are intense right now. There's a major back and forth, all right, dealing with this Third World War. And what we have to understand, this is the conflict that's going to spark World War III. Okay, now what we're seeing right now, from both sides, the Iran, is fighting a war on multiple fronts, mainly with the small hats in America, and they have gotten, the region involved by striking American assets all throughout the region. This is going to be the conflict that's going to spill over into this Third World War. Okay, this is the beginning phase of the Third World War that we're seeing, according to the scriptures. Okay, according to the scriptures, Ezekiel 38, okay, Jeremiah 49, Jeremiah 50, 51. We go through this, okay, all the nations that are mentioned, okay, within the scriptures to take down, okay, America to start this Third World War. Okay, we see them being activated. Okay, now with what we see now with this conflict, there is a great possibility that there could be a ceasefire. It's two ways that this can play out according to prophecy, because we know the MOTB has to be mandated. Okay, so we can see this war, go on for months, being a conventional war, a lot of damage, being done on both sides. Okay, and then in the midst of this conventional war, it can go to, like I say, low intensity. Okay, something that can be sustained for an extended amount of time while the devil, continue to set up, all right, the infrastructure for the MOTB. Okay, but we know the MOTB has to be mandated before this war goes nuclear. All right, or we can see, after, Iran has done a certain amount of damage, you can see Russia step in and, tug on the collar of Iran, and Iran fall back after enough damage is being done. Okay, because it plays in favor of Russia for Iran, okay, to weaken America's footprint in the Middle East, and that's exactly what they're doing. See, what we're seeing happening right now, this is what the West wanted Ukraine to do to Russia. The way Iran, okay, is weakening the small hats in America in their region, okay, destroying assets, removing their military footprint. This is what the West wanted Ukraine to do with Russia, but that backfired against them. Okay, and Russia and China is using Iran, okay, to weaken the West. Okay, so by the time that Russia and China are drugged into this conflict, America is going to be severely weakened, man. Okay, so I got some precepts, and then we got a few videos as well. All right, so we could see, a ceasefire. It can, like I say, after a while, we can see a ceasefire. Russia pull on the collar of Iran because Russia's the chief prince. Now, right now, Russia know they gotta let Iran get off. Because it's personal, because of who the Small has killed. Okay, in the beginning of this war, which was the supreme leader Saeed Khamenei. All right, so Russia know, okay, Iran got to get off. They didn't kill their man, so Russia, they got to get off. But after a while, we can see Russia step in and pull on Iran collar and say, all right, fall back, let's regroup, let's get y'all restocked, because we know we're going to bang with these niggas again. That could happen, or they can stay engaged, it can get low intensity, things simmer down. And then this devil, he pushes forth his agenda, okay, and makes the MOTB mandate. But we know the MOTB has to be mandated before this war goes nuclear. So it's interesting. Either way, it all works in our part. It all works in our favor. And what we're seeing is the will of the Lord, all right, come to pass, because, we can get into, the nuances and, go into the elites and they part that they play. Well, the elites play their part, but it's more so what the Lord is doing with prophecy. You see, there was a time when trying to keep up, because I got deep in, I get deep into that sometimes about the elites, but then I have to recenter myself with the prophecy, because you can try to get, we can try to get so deep into what the elites every move is to where we can start to counsel out the narrative of the scriptures, So that's why it's best, to stay anchored down to the scriptures. We, of course, all right, this nigga is under investigation and we keep up with what this nigga got going on. But ultimately, all right, the last say so is prophecy, which is the will of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. Okay, so when you go to Proverbs 21:1, it says the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. And this is from the elites, to these prime ministers, these presidents, okay, which control these generals. And, so what we're seeing is the Lord, all right, he's moving his hand, all right, he's moving his chess pieces on the board, okay, with these nations, all right, regardless of what the elites got going on in the background, where the Lord makes it to where the elites agenda is the agenda that he wants, all right. We know that these, all right, these weapons manufacturing, okay, companies, they get wealthy off of war, okay. So you have, these elites that continually want war because these weapon manufacturers get rich and these weapon manufacturers bank with the elite banking families, okay. But what's happening is the will of the Lord is kicking in, all right, and it's going to spiral out of this devil's hand, okay. This war is going to go beyond what this devil can manage, okay, because it's all about the will of the Lord happening, right? And so it said the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Okay, so we're watching the will of the Lord because we're going to see how prophecy is aligned. Okay, I say the elites in the background doing what they do, but the elites are finna be a non-factor. Okay, it's all about what the Lord has, all right, planned. It's all about his counsel. You see, that's why you go here, I think, two chapters earlier. Okay. Isaiah 19:21 said there are many devices in the man's heart. Yeah, so the elites can say we want to do this, we got this agenda, we want to do that. No, the Lord got the last say so. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, that shall stand. So what we're seeing happen is the will of the Lord, the prophecy jump off the pages, man. Damn the elites. Okay, what's the will of the Lord? Okay, what's the counsel of the Lord? Okay, and it's within prophecy, man. So we go into these when we even go into these videos, all right, it goes Let me see. Yeah, so even when we go into these videos about what's happening, the geopolitics, the war analytics, the economy or whatever, the CHIP, the digital input, whatever we go into, okay, it just complements the counsel of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Okay, the elites are doing nothing, okay, on the side that's not accounted for in the scriptures, man. All right, and it's a lot of stuff that they're doing in vain. That's why scripture say, why do the heathen rage and imagine a vain thing? So a lot of things that they're imagining and counseling on is vain. Like because elites, like I said, if you try to follow every step with these niggas, you'll be confused. I done did it a few times. Like, I'm confused. Like, goddamn, I had to go back to rehome myself in the prophecies, man. They're trying to follow every step with these niggas, man. They have you confused because that's what they want. They make it to where you try to follow them niggas, you be in the goddamn, you be entangled, man. Okay, because they got so much shit going on because they operate in confusion. Okay, but it's the prophecy, all right, that really, all right, solves the the Rubik's cube of confusion that this nigga got going on, man. All right, to make sense of the matter. Okay, so let's see what we got. Let's go here. I got this video. Okay, because what happens, America has entered into a war, okay, that it can't win. All right, and the scripture says America's finna lose. All right, and America has stepped into a trap. Okay, so let's go here real quick. This is my guy, Colonel McGregor. All right, he's a pretty much reliable source. I'm gonna say this: please don't listen to Western media when it comes to the war. Okay, you're doing yourself an extreme disjustice of understanding what's going on. And that's why most people believe all this American propaganda of invincibility, because they only view things from Western media. Okay? Like I say, both sides are going to be biased. Okay? But the scriptures, okay, they bring everything, the scriptures. That's why you filter everything through the scriptures. And then, when you start to keep up with these things, you start observing patterns, all right? And then you start to see, okay, when you listen to these devils talk, they telling themselves all the time. When you hear these niggas talk, you can tell these niggas getting their ass whooped, or you can tell when they really got the ups. Okay, by the moves they making, not what they jump on Western media, Fox, CNN, Newsbreak. Newsbreak cool for Eve, getting unalive at the club. That's what Newsbreak for. But when it comes to understanding what's going on in the war, Western media, all right, is completely out of touch with reality, man. So I mean, I just a suggestion. I wouldn't watch no Western media when speaking of the news, when dealing with the war, so let's play this.
With that breaking news, I want to go to a special guest, Colonel Douglas McGregor, U.S. Army Colonel, former senior advisor to Secretary of Defense under President Trump, joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Colonel McGregor. How do you see what's happened in the last 72 hours? It appeared that unlike in June, where Israel and the US virtually had a free run of the skies of Tehran, now the ballistic missiles are spreading across the region. Iran is striking back at UAE, at Bahrain, at Kuwait, and making it, as Yusuf just described, a regional war. Do you believe America is prepared for this, for a long war now?
No. And I hope that your audience understands that this war is now an Indian emergency as well. If India's $500 million investment in Chabahar is on fire and its oil routes are blocked, then Indian interests are at severe risk. You depend upon 2.6 million barrels of oil to flow through to your ports from the Strait of Hormuz every day. If that closes, then every Indian family ends up paying a war tax they didn't vote for. So I think I hope that India understands this, because India has a role to play in this crisis.
We'll come to the Indian role, but what you're saying seems to suggest that you also believe that the arena of conflict this time is spreading far and wide with serious economic consequences. Am I correct?
Well, of course, every American base in the region has been hit. Even the American air base at Incirlik in Turkey has been struck. All of these bases have been.
And Iran, the spirit is on the Lord to get everybody involved. They've even struck bases in Turkey. Turkey got to tighten up. You see, we're going to touch back on Turkey later on, which that's what prophecy. Okay, Iran has hit every base in that region. All right, and I think it's on this one, the other video, they're going to say that those military bases in that region are not functional anymore. Okay, this ain't just they're not just shooting missiles for show. Okay, because Iran don't have infinite missiles. They got a lot, way more than people thought, but they're not infinite, so they're not wasting missiles just for symbolic strikes. They are strategically removing the American footprint from their region. Because even if the bases, a lot of those bases are empty, okay, nigga, what you gonna come back to? Okay, the bases are empty, nigga, what are you gonna come back to? America projects itself in that region through those military bases. Okay, you can't project military power from a hotel. Okay, and even Iran is even striking some hotels. Okay, and one thing they showing too, not only they finding out that America has a hell of a stockpile, which is a hell of a way to find out. Okay, but they finding out that America has they're finding out that Iran has a hell of a stockpile, and they're finding out that they know what every base is. All right, they know what's in the bases. They know where the commanders sleep. They got intel. Okay, these 100 multi, all right, $1 million, $250 million up to $1 billion radars are being destroyed. Okay, those early warning radars that pick up those missiles as soon as they leave Iran, they've been hit the first day. Iran is laying that bitch open. Okay, Iran is opening up that whole region. And guess who coming behind? Eventually, China and Russia. Iran opened this bitch up. When China and Russia come through, it's gonna be a playground. Okay, and the small hats of America gonna get that work. Okay, if you hoping, well, America got something. I know America. You still thinking, yeah, America finna get their beat to sleep. They getting beat to sleep. Okay, and it only gets worse. You see, it's over. America washed up. Okay, the world is finding out America, is overrated. Okay, on paper, yeah, technology-wise, yeah, they're superior. On paper, they're superior technology-wise. They're superior, but when it comes to actual, banging, America ain't built for that. If they can't get if they don't get a quick, decisive win, America not built for no dogfight. Especially with the personnel now that they got. Okay? Especially with the leadership they got. You see? So let's play this some more.
Rendered unusable by us, whether they are seaports or airfields, it doesn't make any difference. So Iran has done really a spectacular job of simultaneously attacking all of these critical bases very early on. And finally, remember, this is probably going to go on for weeks or months unless someone sobers up in Washington. But the thing that will decide this outcome is logistics. We simply don't have enough missiles on hand, and we have a very long line of communications that takes us all the way back to the United States. We've lost most of the ports, virtually all of them in the region, that we would normally use to reload ships, reload missiles, reprovision our forces. So our elements at sea as well as on land right now are limited in how long they can maintain this war, contrary to what is being said in Washington right now.
So are we to understand that Washington was not prepared for this kind of Iranian retaliation? Is that what you're suggesting, that in any war game planning in Washington at the Pentagon, there was no idea that Iran would immediately escalate this or try to escalate it into a regional conflict, which could then get far more prolonged?
Well, whether or not someone in the Pentagon knew anything or thought it all through is a question I can't answer. But one thing is very clear. We don't have an end state in mind. There is no off-ramp. The conditions that we demanded, which were really Israel's conditions from Iran, could not be met. They never could. So it's very obvious that what we need today is a way to stability. Right at the moment, we can't get there. You know, by the way, I think it's very important for people to understand that this war began with the Israeli strike. And frankly, at the time, we were not yet ready to fight, but we decided that we would go.
The least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay? And Small hasn't given a damn if America, okay, wasn't ready, man. Okay? Small has kicked this thing off. The Small had started a bar fight, okay, that they can't finish. America can't finish neither. You know, they seeing Big Homie ain't all what they thought they was. Okay, now they being tested. America chin being tested. Okay, we've been saying this. America gonna get that chin tested. This is what we've been saying. Okay, following into this shit, because we knew that if they caught hell the 12-day war, they were gonna catch more hell this time, and that goes into the birth pains. Okay, every time they engage, it's gonna get worse. Okay, and just like he said, America, they don't have nowhere to port. They running out of ports for their Navy. Where they gonna go? Okay. Oh, remember we got the aircraft carrier. Okay, where's gonna go reload it? You know they 5,000 miles away from America, right? Where they gonna go reload it? Okay, to be effective in their region. You see, they done had to move their fighter jets, okay, 3 different times. Okay, them F-35, all that. Oh, they got 200 F-35, man. It's finna be okay. They not in the region anymore. They had to get moved out the region to get out of range of Iranian missiles. Okay, Iran is putting maximum pressure on these folks, and it's the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah, which the Lord said, "What those Carmanians shall come forth with great strength." Let's get that. My brother can post that 2 Ezra 15:28 through 30. This is prophecy speaking, man. Iran is just a vessel. Okay, and the Lord showing you that he can use whatever weapon, he can use whatever he's showing the world. All right, what the Lord is saying, I can use any nation to destroy any other nation. I don't care who got what. Okay, so all this American hype, it had America, all right, can't do nothing with the prophecy of the Lord. Okay, so all this American tough shit, we can cut it out. Okay, because we're not seeing it. You see, this is the time to be tough. You know, so let's play a little more.
Go in support of Israel anyway. So I don't think any of this is going to any sort of agreed strategic program or schedule.
You made a very interesting point. You seem to suggest that this war, in a way, is being driven by the Israelis. They did the first strike, and the Americans are simply following on that, which is very strange. That normally doesn't happen. Normally, it's the other way around, that the U.S. takes the lead. Are you saying it's been very different in that sense? Netanyahu is the one who has virtually pushed Donald Trump into this war.
Netanyahu has more influence in Washington, where essentially the Israel lobby has purchased the Congress and the White House. President Trump owes his position in the White House to Zionist billionaires that funded him. So Israel is very much in control. The United States is not. And this is a serious problem. You'll note that the Secretary of Defense talked about Iran as a state sponsor of terrorism. Well, that's a lot of nonsense. He's referring to things that happened 40 years ago. Iran has changed profoundly, and Iran is not a state sponsor of terrorism. If we were really concerned about radical Islam and terrorism, we'd be focused on Pakistan. Pakistan is the wellspring of radical Islam, financed in large part by Saudi Arabia. And now we have a government in Syria, which is a product of ISIS and al-Nusra and al-Qaeda. So why are we attacking Iran? We are attacking Iran because it's the last state in the region, at least at this point, that is presenting resistance to Israel. Israeli or Jewish supremacy in the region cannot be established until Iran is eliminated as a major player. So this is no longer about regime change. We're trying to destroy the Iranian state.
Because these small hats want that greater Israel project. Okay? These small hats in the New World Order, these elites think they're going to be able to, these elites really want to be us, man. This is Esau trying to get his birthright back. And Trump is nothing but a do boy. Because we have to remember, when Donald Trump went broke, I believe that was in the 90s, it was a Rothschild banking family that brought him out of debt. All right, they put this nigga back on his feet. Okay, so he's nothing but a do boy. He's in the hole. That's why they have all this Epstein footage on this nigga. Okay, and if he get cute, they can show this nigga like, look, cause see, Trump was dragging his feet with this war, and this why. Okay, we see why Trump was dragging his goddamn feet, man. You know, okay. When they start putting the Epstein pressure on his ass, he had to come on in because he's a do boy for the elites. Okay, and they want Iran taken out. Okay, so they can have full dominance. Okay, of this region. Okay, known as the Middle East, which is West Asia. Okay, and they want to set up their Greater Israel project. They want to set up Gaza as this smart city. They want to, they want to set up shop in Jerusalem. They want to do all these things, man. Okay, because these elites think they got this figured out, man. But they ass is finna go into captivity. America finna be a desert. Okay, and the elites, okay, finna go into captivity. This is how this play out. Okay, we're just watching the build up. Okay, Esau done. So let's go from there. I got another video I want to go into. All right. Okay, then I want to get that. Let me see and pull this up and then okay, yeah. So you go here, second Ezra 15:28 said, behold, and horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. Okay. And his vision gonna be horrible, okay, for American, you small hats, man. All right, verse and this from the brother Crusaders of Yahushua, second Ezra 15 and 29, it says the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and from the day that they set out their hissing, okay. I'm gonna see. I think it's cut off. I'm gonna go to this one. Okay. It says this is a mark of ball, second Ezra 15 and 29. It says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and a multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them shall fear. And that's these Gulf Arab states, man. Okay, because what these Gulf Arab states, because it's strategically genius what Iran is doing. Okay, it's strategically genius, and it's the Lord that got them on this time because this fulfilled prophecy. What's going to make those Gulf Arab states switch on America and join with Iran? Because they see that America can't protect them. Okay, America can't protect their economic interests, and America can't protect them militarily. Okay, they're seeing how vulnerable they are, and America marketed itself as this, as this big protector in the region, as this invincible, all right, untouchable, force in that region. Okay, but now what Iran doing is showing how vulnerable and fragile, okay, this American protection is in that region. Because Iran been telling these Gulf Arab states, like, look, we don't need American protection, man. We can run our own thing out here. Iran been screaming it to these Gulf Arab states, but they were still buddy up to these Edomites, okay? Because through Esau, you get access to these global markets, man. Okay, where you can get all this wealth quickly. Okay, so these Gulf Arab states, you know, they became lapdogs for the West. So Iran, like, look, let me show them. And what Iran is doing is within international law because they were attacked. All right, America attacked their sovereign and killed, all right, their elected leader. So now Iran has the right to attack any military asset of the hostile nation. So wherever these American bases are at, they are legit military targets. Okay, so they're striking targets. Okay, and the more access you give America to your country, the more your country becomes a target. Okay, so now this is what's going to make, all right, the dragons of Arabia flip sides and go to Iran, Russia, and China, because they already, Saudi Arabia already, you know, diversified their oil, you know, in yuan, which is a Chinese currency. At the time, it was only the dollar. So they already got economic ties with China and Russia. Okay. So what Iran is doing, because right now, Saudi Arabia and these Gulf Arab states, they trying to play the fence, get the best of both worlds. Well, see, this going to make them pick a side. Okay. And prophecy tells us what side they're going to pick. Okay. It says, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, and they shall, it says, and all they that which hear them and tremble. Verse, let me see. Oh, yeah, verse 30. Yep. It says, verse 30 says, also the Carmanians, which are Iran, okay, the Iranians, also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boar of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land, okay, of Assyria, okay? We're just speaking about America. And what we're seeing, because these American military bases, okay, they're like an extension of America, all right? And we're seeing them being what? Wasted. And those Carmanians, they're raging in wrath. You know, they're raging in wrath right now. You see, they on like they 10th wave. You know, they're probably got another wave as we speak. So they're coming forth like a wild boar, and a wild boar is hard to kill because America and the small hats, they're striking back at Iran, but it's not stopping these waves of missiles from coming out of Iran. Okay. So these small hats in America is like a wild boar. A wild boar is hard to kill, and it's very aggressive, and it's intelligent too. Okay, so this is what we're seeing. This is prophecy speaking and jumping off the page, man. Okay, down what the elites got playing in the background. What prophecies say in the forefront. Okay, so let's go here. Let's play a little bit of this.
Stevie Witkoff calls up and says, "Hey, Vladimir, let me come by and."
Freedom's great.
And a weaker dollar are driving central banks to boost their gold reserves. Forecasts suggest gold could hit $6,000 an ounce and silver $200 an ounce. Even more.
My dear Frenchies, we haven't seen each other in a while.
Yeah, been a long time, man. What grim,
Thank you for all
Rampart.
of your generous time on Saturday. The audience was enormous, and this is well appreciated. And I guess this is going to go on for a while. Before we get to the likely fallout, some of which we've seen already from the murder of the Ayatollah, can you give us the big picture as you see it now, 48 hours after all this started, the United States and Israeli invasion of Iran?
The ability of the U.S. to maintain a presence in the Middle East looks like it's been virtually destroyed. The United States has started a war that it cannot finish, despite all of Donald Trump's claims about, oh, we're doing great, we're the most powerful, Iran's begging for relief. He is so delusional that this is frightening, because this is spinning out of control, where it is going to affect the global economy. In fact, just earlier this morning, the U.S. hit an oil pipeline in Iran. Expect now Iran will take out the oil pipelines in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates. So the world oil supply is going to be in trouble. Actually, the ones probably popping champagne corks right now are sitting in the Kremlin in Moscow, because with the price of oil going way up, Russia is going to be sitting in a sweet, sweet position. Was a miscalculation that the historians will look back at it and just shake their heads and say, what the hell were they thinking? Think of this. The one guy in Iran that blocked for 36 years Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon, the one man who stood in the way, who said, we will not build a nuclear weapon, that's the guy the United States killed. So,
And you can tell this is the Lord. Okay, okay. The heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. All right, because everyone's saying this is the dumbest military move ever by Trump. He had no choice, because it's bigger than his Trump. Okay, he's a perfect clown for the job, man. All right, with their arrogance. Okay, nigga don't really know nothing. Okay, it's goddamn reality TV star. America's going into the worst. All right, into the biggest war. Okay, the earth has ever seen with a reality TV star. As commander-in-chief, man. Okay? The Lord has a sense of humor. Okay? So what he did was, when they killed Khamenei, because America's strategy is to shock and awe. Okay? They wanted the same reaction from Maduro. No, you're dealing with a different animal. All right, you're dealing with that wild boar in the scriptures. You see, Venezuela, non-factor. All right, what Iran is that wild boar in the scriptures. Iran is the Persians that's prophesied to join with what? Magog. Okay. You see, now you're stepping into your end. So all Esau did was step into the door of his end. Is over with. He done stepped into it. He stepped into the trap that the Lord made for him. And this nigga so ambitious. Okay. He's so ambitious and he can't resist himself, so he took the opportunity to kill the supreme leader, which was the only man, okay, that was against, all right, Iran from having a nuclear missile. Okay, so what you think the next guy gonna be on? They're just like the Persians with the Greeks. The Persians killed, all right, Philip II of Macedonia because he was what? He was all right, he had what you call the Hellenic League. Okay, he had made like a NATO alliance style alliance with all these different Greek city states. Okay, he had gathered these different Greek city states. Okay, and their militaries were under his command because he was planning an invasion of Persia. He was going to invade the Persian Empire. So the Persians, they attempted a decapitation, okay, and they paid somebody off within his ranks, all right, to assassinate Philip II. But when they assassinated Philip II, who stepped up in power? Alexander. Okay, so they thought, okay, let's kill him, and and it's gonna fall apart. No, you got Alexander, and prophecy was fulfilled. Okay, so on the reverse side, Amalek. Okay, their thing was, okay, let's kill this guy, and it's gonna all fall apart. No, you killed this guy, and now prophecy is being fulfilled. Okay, the Lord checkmate every time. Okay, checkmate for prophecy every time, man. All right, so let's I think it's a little more. He goes into, I think about, let's go about right here.
And the Iranians said, no, and within 24 hours of the U.S. and Israel starting this war, the U.S. reached out. There's multiple reports. It's not just one source. They're trying to get the Italians to approach Iran, and they did. And the Iranians said, no and hell no. No, we're not talking to the Americans anymore. Ali Larijani, who is a close advisor to the Ayatollah Khamenei, made it clear. We have nothing to talk about. Iran right now it's actually holding the cards, despite the way the West is portraying it, that Iran's on the ropes and they're taking a beating. Now we're bombing and destroying a lot of infrastructure, but we're killing children, murdering children. But that's what Israel does best: shoots and kills the indefenseless. But as a result of this activity, Iran now, they've closed the Strait of Hormuz. They've fired upon at least 4 ships, one American, and the other 3 are British, I think, or at least carrying oil in the direction of Europe. The oil market is starting to respond. The price of oil, I think, is now up to $82 a barrel. So Iran's in a position to shut that down. They have hit and destroyed basically every American base. This includes Al Udeid in Qatar, Prince Sultan in Saudi Arabia. The most important one, the ones that incurred the most damage, is in Bahrain, where the 5th Fleet of the U.S. Navy was based. And that base was important because, as we've talked before, the destroyers carry what are called vertical launch system tubes. And to reload those, you have to go to port to reload the weapon systems. Well, they ain't going to Bahrain now. Also, there was a port that was being developed in Oman, and that's going to be taken out. It's been attacked already. So the ability of the United States to deploy and maintain forces there, they're being, as I think Alistair Kirk used the term, driven out. Absolutely. And that's what I think an unexpected consequence. You've seen also the attack on U.S. Military installations in Iraq. So look at the difference between what's happening now with what happened on June 13th in 2025. That was a surprise attack.
So American footprint is being diminished in that region. Okay. It's being diminished. See, decades, okay, and billions of dollars worth of military infrastructure has been destroyed in 3 days. Okay. This is 3 days worth of war, and Iran has destroyed America's footprint in that region. If the war stopped today, okay, America has been set back decades with this military infrastructure. Okay. So Iran is doing damage. America is paying the cost as we speak. They're paying the cost. All right. And Trump get on there telling you they're ahead of schedule and Iran on the ropes. Okay. All right. So let's go from there. Let's go here. I got another. Let's go to this one. Let's go here with this guy. Because then, you know, they calling out Trump hypocrisy. You know, Trump was saying that, you know, oh yeah, remember Trump said this, okay? But yeah, you know, Trump was the main one saying that he wasn't gonna go to war. All right, he's not a president to start wars. He's gonna end all wars. Okay, he'll never go into never end the war in the Middle East. Okay, well, this that like I said, he's just a character, man, to keep you distracted. Okay, while the elites, okay, do their wickedness in the background. Okay, so let's play this. And remember, talk about the prophets of doom.
Middle East is rapidly changing. You know, there are prophets that say the world will come to an end in the Middle East. You know that, right?
Who he talking about? You know, I was in the spirit. You see who the devil talking about, man? Let's listen to him again.
Middle East is rapidly changing. You know, there are prophets that say the world will come to an end in the Middle East. You know that, right?
All morning, Iran's President Pezeshkian says that Tehran views revenge as its, and I'm quoting here, legitimate right and duty, and will do its utmost to fulfill this duty. Revenge is its legitimate right and duty, and they will do their utmost to fulfill that duty.
New Turkish threat is emerging. I want to be very clear. Turkey and Qatar have gained influence in Syria, are seeking influence.
Now I want to listen to this because I'm playing this for this guy. Now, this is Naftali Bennett. You know, he used to be a prime minister, so he's part of the Israeli government. Okay, but all of a sudden he just starts to call out Turkey. Okay, the Lord is activating all these nations. All right, written in prophecy, man. You see, this is the Lord working, man. You see, because all of a sudden he just calling out Turkey. You know, let's let it play.
Elsewhere and everywhere throughout the region, Turkey is the new Iran. Erdogan is sophisticated, dangerous, and he seeks to encircle Israel. We can't close our eyes again. And while some senior Israelis were on Qatar's payroll, Qatar and Turkey are nourishing that is growing and eventually might become as dangerous as the one created by Iran. Turkey and Qatar are gaining influence not only in Syria, but also in Gaza, through the front door, and everywhere, and trying to create a new choke ring. Turkey is trying to flip Saudi Arabia against us and establish a hostile Sunni axis with nuclear Pakistan.
So now this talk of Turkey. Now Turkey is an enemy, okay, to the small hats. Now Turkey is someone that has to be addressed. This is prophecy, man, because it don't, here it is, small hats are already, you know, getting their ass handed to them, but they're looking for someone else to drag in, man, okay, because it's prophecy. Now, there's this guy, Naftali Bennett, okay, small hat, and he's calling out Turkey. So when you go here, you know, you got to cross-reference some of this stuff with, you know, other sources. So when you go to this, let me see. Yeah, this one here. So let's play this one, you know, because like I say, now Turkey is being put in the mix because Turkey, all right, is a part of prophecy. Okay, and Turkey is going to be, and like I say, Iran is doing this damage by themselves, man. When Turkey, these Gulf Arab states get involved, plus China and Iran, man, this gonna be bad. That's why it's gonna have to go nuclear. You know, this is why it's gonna go nuclear, because it's gonna be a bloodbath. Okay, this is why it's gonna go nuclear eventually, man. Okay, so Let's play this real quick, dealing with Turkey.
He said Turkey's the next target. One of the reasons uploaded some of the weapons from Dimona, and he's perfectly willing to use them if everything goes sour, if it turns bad, which it has every prospect of doing. So not only is it scary from the perspective of the conventional warfare that's going on, which can't possibly go for the empire ultimately, for America ultimately, but also the prospect of bringing nuclear weapons into it. Very, very vivid prospect with this man who is the number one pariah leader in the world today. The 60% of the world, if not more, that's a lot of people, realize that he is a homicidal maniac. And one of the things that Patrick was just talking about stirred my memory of a briefing 3 days ago. Naftali Bennett was not just blowing in the wind when he said Turkey's the next target. One of the reasons Israel is doing some things in Cyprus and southern Greece that have nothing to do with what Patrick was enumerating, all of which was accurate, but this is a separate operation altogether. They're trying to destabilize Turkey, and they're going to use Cyprus to do it because that's their next target. If I were Erdogan right now, and I had half a brain, and I know some people in his military and an intelligence apparatus actually do, unlike what we think of the Turks in general, if the truth was known, they would realize that it's not in their interest whatsoever to even be neutral in this, that they need to make a decision on which side they're going to enter and how they're going to enter, because all kinds of prospects for Turkey's advantage or disadvantage markedly are here. And Netanyahu has every intent, and I suspect his follow-on entourage of leadership, once he's in jail or whatever, has every intent of expanding Israel's writ. I mean, it's clear. Greater Israel is greater Israel, and they are very interested in it. And when Mike Huckabee gave his disquisition on it, he was not joking. He's been in the corridors of power, as it were, of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and he knows what the Israelis are planning. So there's some people that got to wake up here, not least of all.
He said there's some people that got to wake up here. You see, prophecy, man. So now Turkey, pressure being put on Turkey because they're going to have to make a decision. And Turkey is another nation that's been playing both sides, playing the fence. Okay, well, now it's like now the small hats is coming out publicly and saying, look, Turkey is an enemy. They're trying to, start a Muslim brotherhood against the small hats. So now they're beginning to demonize Turkey. Okay? These small hats are moving like a nigga that's paranoid, man. Okay? Because they're guilty as hell, and everybody, is a threat to them. You see? So let's go here, because he said some people got to wake up. Well, prophecy gonna wake them up. Okay? Like we've been getting into, let's get there real quick. And then I think I got yep, that's the spirit. Yep, the brother got it right on time. Brother hit that corner 3. I didn't gotta get. I load up this other. I got one more video. Yeah, I got one more video. I'm gonna tap into a little bit, but I'm gonna get this one. This the brother GMS Des Moines. All right, 2 is Joel 3:12. It said, "Let the heathen be awakened." Okay, and what's going to awaken these heathen is prophecy, man. The Lord putting everybody in a position where they gotta choose a side. They gotta align. They gotta go ahead and align themselves for prophecy, man. And Turkey gonna choose China. Russia. Okay, and Iran. Okay, Turkey is a major player of Ezekiel 38. Brother want to post that Ezekiel 38. Okay, you get straight to the point. I believe, you can get verses 4 through 6, 7. Ezekiel 38, brother can post it. Okay, but we know which side Turkey finna go to. They finna go to, to Russia. They finna go under the banner of Magog. the chief prince. Okay, and man, that's going and wow, man, it's just gonna be overwhelmed. It's gonna be bad for America, man. Just seeing how this thing is shaping up. Because if America catching hell now, man, if America catching hell now, man, when these other players are activated, man, my goodness, man. Okay, and that's why that draft coming. You know, I know probably the number one thing on Google, people searching their draft. You know, there's some draft searches on when it's coming. All right, because that little personnel that America got, that little 500,000, you know, little military that they got now, they ain't gonna hold up, you know. So let's get this real quick. All right, this is the brother GMS, Des Moines to Ezekiel 38:4. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor." Okay, even a great company, okay, with bucklers and shields, all of them handling the sword, man. So this is that full alliance, okay, that's getting ready to come forth, okay, and deal with the small hats in America. And see what Iran is doing is showing that these nations that this nigga washed up. You know, Iran is setting the tone that these niggas are washed up, man. Okay, yes, America can do damage. Okay, but America can get their ass whooped too. You see, this is what Iran is showing. Of course, America can do damage. That's like I say, it's a quadrillion-dollar military. You got cotillion, quadrillion, zillion, whatever illion you can think of. Okay, they got it. They got a blank check military. They should do some damage. Okay, but are they invincible? Absolutely not. Okay, and it's going to provoke these nations, all right, to get emboldened against the whore, man. Okay, verse 5, it says, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, with them all of them with shield and helmet. Okay, Persia, Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya, which are these African nations that's allied with, okay, Russia. And it says with shield and helmet, which is a defense, man. Okay, and it says Gomar, okay, you see that, which is Turkey, and all his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters, okay, because you look at Turkey is to the north, you know, of Israel. Okay, it says in all his bands and many, all right, people with thee. Okay, so this is what's formulated. You see, these are these chain of events is having a ripple effect that's going to cause prophecy to just come together, okay, perfectly according to the will of the Lord. Verse 7 says, "Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." Okay, and this is what we're seeing, because right now, and that's another thing, Iran has access to Russian satellites. Okay, Iran has Russian military hardware, and see, with Russia and China in the background, you know, Iran is souped up. Okay, Iran is souped up. Okay, so and if Iran get low, China and Russia gonna replenish them, because Iran is doing to America and the small hats what the West thought Ukraine was gonna do to Russia. They thought Ukraine was gonna have this effect on Russia. They wasn't expecting Ukraine to beat Russia, but they thought that Ukraine would be able to damage Russia. There has been some damage, but nothing like what we're seeing happening right now, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Arabia's Gulf Coast, 64 kilometers north of Dhahran, visible from satellite as a dense cluster of refinery towers and export terminals stretching along the waterfront, that the entire global oil market has spent the past 72 hours treating as an untouchable red line, not because anyone said it was off limits, because everyone assumed it was too important to hit, too consequential, too deeply embedded in the architecture of the global energy system.
So now, Iran is striking oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia because they striking at Iran's oil infrastructure. Okay, so now they're striking back because Saudi, all right, is the most Western friendly of these Gulf Arab states. You goddamn Saudi, these degenerates. Okay, you see these crown princes of Saudi. Okay, so they're the most buddy, with the West. All right, and the West depends on this Saudi oil infrastructure above all these other Gulf states. Okay, so oh yeah. So let's play this some more. So what we're seeing now is what you call Aramco, which is Saudi Arabia's oil refinery. Okay, infrastructure. Okay, and it's being hit. It's being knocked offline. Okay, so this is gonna be this is gonna play out in the markets, man. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see how this play out, man. But if it continues this way, it's gonna have an effect on the markets. I'm gonna start it over.
There is a facility on Saudi Arabia's Gulf Coast as a dense cluster of refinery towers and export terminals stretching along the waterfront that the entire global oil market has spent the past 72 hours treating as an untouchable red line, not because anyone said it was off limits, because everyone assumed it was too important to hit, too consequential, too deeply embedded in the architecture of the global energy system for Iran to strike, because striking it would mean the economic war had become total. This morning, Iran struck it. Aramco halted operations at Saudi Arabia's largest refinery at Ras Tanura on the Persian Gulf Coast after a drone strike in the area, according to people familiar with the matter. Gas oil futures jumped on news of the closure of the refinery that's a key supplier of diesel. Ras Tanura shut down. 550,000 barrels per day of refining capacity halted. The export terminal that ships Saudi crude to China, Japan, South Korea, and Europe halted. The facility that processes 40% of Saudi Arabia's domestic fuel needs halted. And the Brent crude price that was already heading toward $80 per barrel surged another 10% the moment Bloomberg's headline hit the wire. Because every oil trader on earth understood in the same instant what that drone strike means, Iran is not targeting military infrastructure anymore. Iran is targeting the energy infrastructure that the entire global economy depends on. The attack on Ras Tanura would mark the first Iranian strike on the Gulf's energy infrastructure. The eastern province contains a dense concentration of upstream infrastructure, including refineries, pipelines, and processing centers for crude and gas. The first Iranian strike on Gulf energy infrastructure. That phrase, published by The National in Abu Dhabi, a newspaper that operates under the oversight of the UAE government, whose own city is also under attack, marks the crossing of the final category line in this war. Iran struck military bases on Saturday. It struck civilian buildings and hotel zones on Sunday. And on Monday morning, it struck the economic engine of the country that produces more oil than any other on earth, and whose crown prince Mohammed bin Salman spent the past 3 years positioning Saudi Arabia as the neutral power broker of the Middle East, the country above the conflict, the destination for investment and vision and modernity. For almost 3 days, there was little sign of a new war raging in the Gulf if you were based in Saudi Arabia. Most schools were business as usual on Monday morning. Saudis and foreigners reported heading to the office and carrying on with meetings, and flights continue to shuffle people into, out of, and across the country. That has the potential to change, and quickly. Business as usual on Monday morning. Schools open, flights operating. The Saudi government's extraordinary management of domestic normalcy, projecting calm while its territory was being struck, lasted exactly until the drone found Ras Tanura. The moment that smoke rose over the world's most important oil export terminal, every calculation Saudi Arabia had made about staying above the conflict, refusing to officially participate while allowing American jets to use its bases for refueling. Condemning Iran's attacks while not joining the American operation, all of it collapsed into a single question that Mohammed bin Salman is now being asked by his own population and his own oil ministry. What do we do now? But Ras Tanura...
Yeah, pressure. You see how the Lord putting that pressure on everybody. The Lord putting that pressure on everybody, man. Nobody can just play neutral anymore. You got to come on in. Okay? Oh, you getting involved. You see? So let's go up. I want to play this a little bit. All right. And Iran is just a vessel, and they just hitting everything, man. Okay, Iran was just hitting everything, man. So let's play this real quick just to show. And this is in 3 days. Okay. This is in 3 days, and you got all these different narratives, which is strategically genius, because Iran, okay, if it was just them going head up with America and the small hats, okay, then they will be at a disadvantage. Okay. But when they was able to get all these other, they still could do damage. Okay. But now what Iran has done is that they got all these other they got the whole region involved, all these different countries. Okay, to now you got all these different narratives where everybody see now it's more see, this makes it more complicated for the small hats in America. Okay, because now their reputation, okay, they're all those decades of these nations looking to them, okay, as a protector. Okay. Now all this on the line. Okay. So now you got all these different narratives going on at one time that America got to deal with this. Okay. They can't protect all these bases at one time. They can't protect one base at one time. Okay. So this was strategically genius on the Iranian side, because now it creates all these other narratives that America and these small hats got to deal with. Okay, while they continue to just send waves and waves of strikes, and then they're putting all these military bases offline. Okay, making them non-operational. Okay, so this swings more the advantage to Iran. Okay, so let's play this.
Port of Duqm. The strikes have paralyzed major shipping hubs in the United Arab Emirates and Oman. So far, Iranian strikes have hit Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. 8 countries: Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, plus Israel, plus Lebanon, plus Cyprus. That is 11 territories struck by Iranian drones and missiles in 72 hours. Iran is doing this alone, without Hezbollah's full arsenal committed, without the Houthis operating at maximum capacity, without China or Russia providing material military support. Alone, Iran has struck 11 territories, shut down the world's most important oil refinery, mined the Strait of Hormuz, sunk or damaged multiple tankers, hit the U.S. Embassy compound in Kuwait, fired on the Abraham Lincoln, and depleted America's interceptor stocks to the level where the Pentagon is calling the president and telling him to end the war fast. There's a comparison being made in every newsroom, every parliament, every bank trading floor, and every military operations center on Earth this Monday morning. And the comparison is doing more damage to American credibility than any missile or drone that has yet been fired. The comparison is this. In 12 days of fighting in June 2025, Israel suffered damage that it managed, contained, and survived. In 72 hours of fighting in March 2026, Israel is reporting hospitals at capacity, defense systems depleted, Beit Shemesh destroyed by a ballistic missile that killed 9 people, including a mother and her volunteer emergency responder daughter, Hezbollah rockets, and
Yeah, just like the brother said, it's a full court press over there, man. It's a full court press. All right, so we're seeing, okay, the prophecies of the Lord. Okay, let's go here, and we'll end it here. Isaiah 46. Yeah, man, it's pressure over there. That's the Lord pressing the gas over there. Iran is just a vessel, man. Okay, and the Lord is using Iran to slap shit around there. Okay. And the British Prime Minister, this nigga explaining himself. It's a drastic decline. Extremely drastic decline. Okay, in American foreign policy, man. Okay, so America can get used to being tried way more. Okay, that invincibility, okay, is gone. Okay, they say America can do a lot of damage. All right, there's no doubt. Okay, but America can be damaged. You see, because what these nations have been doing, they've been building their military just to fight against America. They can't go tick for tack. It would make no sense to try to match America with, They'll try to go aircraft for aircraft, try to go aircraft carrier for aircraft carrier, Navy destroyer for Navy destroyer. You can't keep up with America, okay, because it has a blank check when it comes to its Department of Defense. Okay. When it comes to, all right, is defense budget. Okay, which it really should be an offensive budget. Okay, Department of Offense, you know. But no one in the world can keep up with America tick for tack. Okay, when it comes to, all right, military hardware, okay, and technology. But they can modify their militaries to do damage to American military. And this is the route, and this is what Iran is showing, because Iran don't have nowhere near the budget that America has. Okay. But what's being shown is how to beat the whore. Okay. Iran is the Lord got Iran dropping the blueprint. Okay. They gotta put Khamenei on the what's his name? Yeah, Khamenei, whatever his name is. All right. They gotta put him on their Jay-Z album, the blueprint. Okay. He dropped the blueprint on how to deal with the whore, man. Okay. So let's get this real quick. This Isaiah 46:9 said, remember the former things are old, for I'm the most high, and there is none else. I'm the most high, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times of things that are not yet done, saying my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure, man. Okay, so what we're seeing is the Lord doing his pleasure in the earth, man. You know, and everybody playing their part. Okay, everybody playing their part within the will of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, you know, and may, you know, we endure, you know, and may, you know, we are predestined, you know, to be of the elect. You know, we're going to continue to play our part, man. You know, so that was the point, you know, just wanted to tap into that, you know, hey, there's so much going on, but hey, this is what we do, you know, this is why we're here, man. You know, this is building up, it's all building up to Yahweh Shai. All right, so Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters, edify once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh B'Shem, Yahweh Shai, B'Shem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our younger brothers. Shalom. Shalom.